What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another watch list video. I hope you all have been having a great weekend so far. We got a short week ahead. Market is closed on Friday for the 4th of July. There's no earnings this week. I think we got Fed speaker sometime during the week, middle of the week. Doesn't really matter that much to me, so not anything I care that much about. But you get a nice gap up in the after hours, which is slowly starting to fade off. You know, you got your NQ below the 10 and 20 day, kind of finding some resistance around that area. But Friday, you know, it was better as far as breadth, right? You had, whether you're looking at Market Pulse or Pradeep's Market Monitor, way better breadth day. Kind of been climbing since like Thursday. Thursday was like, slightly better, and then Friday was way better. So you're starting to see a nice pickup there. But from my weekly scan, I'm seeing a lot of bearish engulfing candles in a lot of your leading stocks, right? If I flip to like a SanDisk, right? Nice big outside bar. You get a nice, it's a bearish engulfing candle. So we'll see what that can bring. I don't know. I don't want to come out here and be a big bear or anything, but your markets are below their 10 and 20. So for me, generally, that will be more risk off, but you do have a lot of support underneath, especially on a lot of stocks as well as like your indexes, right? The QQQ, you got the 50-day, right? If I flip back to your NASDAQ, right? Same thing as QQQ, same thing. You got your 50-day, your SPY, you kind of had a nice little outside bar. You swept the lows. You're below the 10, 20 and the 50-day. Kind of found resistance there as well at the end of the day. So definitely interesting for me, but I want to remain cautious for now until things start to work. I will say Friday I did have some stuff that worked really well. CrowdStrike is a name I bought on Friday. Finally started to work for me. This chart looks great. It is on the list just for some continuation through this little pivot, this little range. It's still in that range, so a push out of the range would be super nice. I wouldn't mind a tight day tomorrow, whatever. If we get a mini gap up, or even if we don't gap up and we gap down tomorrow, depending on how these certain things open. Who knows? But continuing on from looking at SanDisk as far as like a bearish engulfing, right? It's definitely going to be a lot in the memory names. WDC destroyed this week, right? If you were able to get short this one, good job. I think out of all of them, it was definitely one of the best ones to short. Same thing with STX, but another bearish engulfing, right? BE, bearish engulfing, had two terrible days here. Absolutely destroyed. Super unfortunate, especially for, if you're buying this undercut and rally, like, this day sucks, but then this day right here, you're going to have to let go of the position. So a little unfortunate. You look at like a CRDO, another top name of your IWM, right? You go to weekly, it's a massive bearish engulfing. Some nice volume came in, but the IWM still looks awesome, right? Still pushing higher, still, not even a percent off of a new high. Still looks fine. NBIS, another leading name, right? Another bearish engulfing on the weekly candle, on the weekly chart with your candle. Marvell, another one. And then I think AMD as well, pretty much a bearish engulfing, but I have this on my list. Intel, bearish engulfing. But I don't immediately want to just, become bearish here, because like I look at like an Intel, right? It's back under the pivot, right? Back in the base, it's kind of just squatting in a nice little flag. Inside day on Friday. Can this push out? I'll watch Friday's highs for sure if we can get going, but also like a flush down to the 20-day, fill this gap or bounce off the gap would be super interesting to me. So that's definitely an area I want to keep an eye on. And AMD, kind of same thing, right? You're building a super nice range. This is what I've wanted this name to do for a while, since it, originally made this big move up, right? It's finally building a real range. Can we get a higher low maybe at the gap? You did have a nice reversal candle on Friday, so I'll be watching Friday's highs for sure. Super interesting though, and even though you got a not the best looking weekly chart as far as like a bearish engulfing, right? You had that nasty outside bar candle at the beginning of June, right? And then you did see a little bit of downside, but that got bought back up. So can we see the same thing? Maybe, definitely something I'll be paying attention to, but I continue to keep those kind of names on my list, even though you look at something like the SMH and obviously like your semis and your RAM or your memory names, right? You get the bearish engulfing, so not my favorite look, I won't lie, but still a chance for a little bit of pullback and a higher low, right? These things are still in established uptrends. They look great. There's lots of support. So can they be supported? That will be super interesting, right? Like I talked about the QQQ here, the SPY. Definitely want to be personally focusing on names that have been holding up the best. So I will bring up like a bug. I've been talking about all these names in last week's video. All of the cybersecurity and a lot of software names, even though IGV's been beat down, there have been some beautiful relative strength in a lot of these software tech related names. So specifically the cybersecurity bug looks awesome. You build a nice range, you get back above the 20 and you push out on Friday. It was a beautiful day. Awesome, right? CrowdStrike looks great. FTNT also on the list. You got a high tight flag, right? It's out of the high tight flag now. Just need to see some follow through. This name still looks awesome. Even if we pull back a little bit into it, I still think it looks great. But to me, it looks like it's ready to get going. RBRK is another cybersecurity. Super nice inside day on Friday. I will be watching Friday's highs. Taking that out would be super interesting to me, right? This could be a higher low spot. You look at a weekly, it looks okay. But it's establishing itself above the 200. Definitely something I like to see. I think that's all of the cyber names on my DDOG. Another one that's like right off of an all-time high, right? 14%. Super nice day Friday, right? Could have bought the undercut rally. I didn't. I like to see it back. You get your wedge pop. It's back above the 10 and 20. Give us a few days of tightness here. You're still in the range pretty much, and I would love to see this name continue higher. And you got Palo Alto continuing higher. Super nice, right? New all-time high, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, looks great. You got talked about CrowdStrike Okta. Another one, not at a new 52-week high, but super nice push out of this little mini rage, right? Super nice undercut and rally of that earnings gap up day, and a hold of the 20. So if you were able to get that, awesome work. That is a sniper entry, and you get some nice follow through. So that's interesting to see. VRNS is another one that's finally back above its 200 and starting to go. Frog was a beast. I think this is the highest volume ever here on Friday. So another one that this was a way better undercut and rally setup, right? You get back above 1020 from undercut and rallying that prior low, or even just Thursday's low as you undercut and you rallied through it super early, and then you had a massive 11% up day on the highest volume ever. This thing is not far from a new all-time high. Super interesting look. Snow was a beast. BB was a beast, right? On the earnings gap up. APPS has been awesome, right? The software names. You even got healthcare software, right? Hinge. This thing looks awesome. Band is another software name that had a super nice day Friday. Get another wedge pop here. Affirm's been a beast. Sezzle's been a beast. So there is some software names that are acting great, or you can look at like the Microsoft that finally had a bounce after getting destroyed. So not the most interesting to me. It is what it is. Obviously, we'll always keep an eye on Microsoft, but Oracle, no love in any way. It looks horrible. We should not be focusing on these names. But continuing to talk about things like memory, you got the South Korean ETF, right? You get a super wide and loose range, but it is building a range. And you did make a higher high, so can it build a higher low sometime here? Would be super interesting, right? A drop into the 50-day, whatever. Maybe that means some things need to continue cooling off. I don't know. Who knows? You did get a gap in the after hours. It's slowly starting to fade, but you're still holding it on a lot of stuff. Right? The dollar still in an uptrend. To me, this is a stage 2 uptrend, right? You're above your 40 week, you're above your 200-day. You established yourself above it. You moved out of the big base you built, so it's in stage 2 now. What does that mean for stocks? But you also got bonds like your TNX, your 10-year yields losing the 50-day and not the best way. So, maybe that's good for stocks, maybe not. Who knows? I just want to focus on the setups, right? ETFs, I talked about Bug, IGV just does not look good, but it did have a nice bounce. WGMI, right? Nice bounce on Friday. It's trying to build a higher low. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to Friday's highs for this thing to just get back above its 10 and 20. You're building a nice range, right? It is a little bit wide and loose right now, but can we get back above and get tight? It would be super interesting. I look at a cipher. You're holding your 10 and 20. Looks great. You look at a weekly chart. Doesn't look terrible. So continuing to build out here. I will watch Friday's high if this is like a lower high spot, but maybe some tightness around this area would be super interesting. Another name on the list, HUT, right? This name, bullish engulfing on the daily. The weekly looks awesome, right? It doesn't look bad in any way. It's starting to build a range. It built a higher low. Another one where it's like, get just a little tight here, and I would love to just continue to watch this name and maybe get into it. Riot, another one, bullish engulfing on the daily. Super nice range. Getting super tight in here, so I would like to see this one push out of this little flat base it's built. Weekly chart is all right. It looks pretty good. It showed some really nice relative strength, right? You got the QQQ down on Friday and pretty much every day last week, and a name like Riot held up super well. So that's definitely the type of stuff I want to pay attention to, right? I have Intel on here. HPE is another one where it's like you're back to the bottom part of the range. Can we rally back through as an undercut and rally? Definitely one to keep an eye on. Dell has been holding up super well. You held the 20-day, super nice reversal candle. I really want to watch Friday's high. If we can take that out, I'd be super interested in this name. It's not my favorite range, I won't lie. It's kind of like wedging. It broke down from the wedge, held the 20-day. We'll see. I think the weekly chart just continues to need sideways. This name continues to need sideways. You can look at it however you want, but just continue to watch this name for sure. It's been a leader, made a massive move. Some digestion here is great, but can this be a higher low spot? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Nobody knows. Definitely to keep an eye. But then you look at like SMH, right? And you got a semiconductor like MXL that looks awesome, right? Super big relative strength. Weekly chart looks great. Super nice inside day from Friday. This name looks like it's just going to get going tomorrow morning, like super early in the morning. If you're able to get this, awesome. I still think the chart looks awesome. It's building a nice base, it's building a nice cup. It's building that right side out pretty nicely. So continue to keep an eye on this name. And I'm definitely going to be watching that Friday high as a top spot. RBRK I talked about. Riot I talked about. Twilio, this is going to be another one of your software names, right? You held the 50. You're building higher lows and on the hourly chart if you want to look at that. But it's a nice inside day. I will be watching Friday's high to push out of that, get back above your 10 and 20. You're still kind of below it. So super, super nice looking chart right now on this pullback. And it's finally starting to show some relative strength. Market breaking down, and this thing's slowly been climbing. So hopefully it can push above his 1020. I don't mind the inside day here today. So I do think that looks pretty good. XLV has been a beast, right? I talked about HNGE, right? You can even throw up ArcG or genomic stuff. TXG has been a monster. I own GH, right, which is a genomic stock. Super nice flat base breakout. I did take trims on this one on Friday, right? You did hit the 8 ATR extension from the 50, close to the highs. That's exactly where I trimmed. So I trimmed 50% of the position, right, for a nice, I think, 16% gain so far. But I had a nice position this one because, it moves 4% per day, 4.5. So wouldn't say slow, but I try to trade names that are like higher beta than that. So I was quick to take profits, especially with the market below 10 and 20, right? Who knows what can happen, although this group has been performing well, right? You got your XBI. If I can type in here, you got your XBI. Holy shit. You got your XBI has been acting great, right? Super big base, breaks out of it, and it's just been a monster. A lot of biotech names, it looks great. Not a whole lot of them I trade, but definitely interesting to keep an eye on a lot of these. The Magnificent Seven, I didn't even really want to bring this up. Looks like shit. No interest for me. I will say Amazon, super nice day on Friday. You did build a nice pivot, so I will just be watching like a break through the 200, see how it can act. But besides that, I mean, Nvidia's falling into the 200 day. Amazon loses the 200 day. Meta, no thank you. Microsoft, no thank you. Just continue to maybe have these names on like a back burner to just watch. I think Amazon out of all of them would be the only one that would interest me. So I'm just it's not on my ready list in any way, but it is on like my focus where I'm just peeping at it every throughout the day. Magnificent Seven software, a lot of these you just need to continue to build out, but you did have some nice relative strength in a lot of those names I talked about at the beginning. That's pretty much going to be it. Honestly, I mean, I got a few back burner setups like OUST. I still own this name from, all the way down here. So did lose a 20 day, but I don't want to immediately get rid of it. 2 super tight days. I don't know if this is going to be a bear flag or we're just going to push above, but it was nice to see it get back above the 20 on Friday. Double inside day. It's getting super tight. Interesting. FCell was a monster, right? But monster relative strength. So you just need some more tightness here. A setup to build for sure, but BE just got hammered. So FCell's maybe taking control for now. DOCN is another name where you could be watching for undercut and rally, whether that's the lows or you look at like a bigger time frame and you got the all-time highs from 2021, right? Can we fall into that? That would definitely be a spot to watch for reversal. HPE, I talked about. Frog, Snow, that's pretty much everything I talked about. I thought I would have more to talk about, but that's pretty much everything I'm watching. We'll see what can happen come to, tomorrow. Like I said, it's going to be a short week. Not a whole lot going on. Still some setups that look pretty decent. Some nice inside days on some things and some nice days from Friday. We had a nice move on Friday and a lot of stuff. So I would like to see some digestion in a lot of these names that I would like to take. And if we do have a washout in the morning, whatever it is, I have names I'll be watching like an Intel, like an AMD. Then I'm ready for either some strength in the morning, not too much to chase, right? I don't want to be chasing that strength on a big gap up, but it doesn't look like we're going to get too big of a gap up, right? We kind of just gapped up, digesting a little bit, but did reject off 1020. That's going to be it for me, but I appreciate you all. I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Peace.